But when my son opened the front door that evening, expecting to walk into an empty house, I was sitting in my father's old leather chair by the fireplace. The look on his face, I will never forget it. His keys slipped from his hand and hit the hardwood floor with a sound that seemed to echo through the entire house. "Dad?" His voice cracked. "What are you? How are you here?" I smiled, not a warm smile. Not the kind of smile a father gives his son after a long absence. This was different. "Welcome home, Derek," I said. "I have something to show you, but I am getting ahead of myself. To understand what happened that night, I need to take you back to the beginning. Back to when I still believed that blood meant something. Back to when I trusted my own son with my life. My name is Harold McPherson. I am 67 years old. For 41 years, I worked as a general contractor in the Okanagan Valley. I built homes, renovated businesses, and raised my family in Kelowna, British Columbia. My wife Eleanor and I bought our house on the lake in 1989, back when you could still afford waterfront property without selling your soul. We paid it off in 2004. That house, with its view of Okanagan Lake and the mountains beyond, was everything we had worked for. Eleanor passed away 3 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. By the time they found it, she had maybe 8 weeks left. I held her hand every single day, until the end. After she was gone, the house felt too big, too quiet. But I could not leave. Her garden was still there. Her books were still on the shelves. Her presence was in every room. My son Derek was 35 when his mother died. He had married Vanessa 2 years earlier. They lived in a condo in Vancouver, both working in finance. Derek was a mortgage broker. Vanessa worked for an investment firm. They seemed successful, nice cars, expensive clothes. They talked about money the way some people talk about the weather, constantly. After Eleanor died, Derek started calling more often. At first, I appreciated it. I was lonely. The grief was heavy. He would phone every Sunday evening, and we would talk for an hour or more. He asked about my health, about the house, about whether I was eating properly. He said he worried about me being alone. "Dad, you're not getting any younger," he said one evening, about 6 months after Eleanor's funeral. "That house is a lot to maintain. The yard alone must be exhausting." "I manage," I told him. "Keeps me busy." "I know, but—" He paused. "Vanessa and I have been talking. What if we moved in with you, just for a while? We could help around the house, keep you company. And honestly, the housing market in Vancouver is insane. We could save up for a proper down payment if we weren't paying rent." I should have heard the warning in those words. Housing market, down payment. But I heard something else entirely. I heard my son saying he wanted to spend time with me. I heard a chance to have family in the house again. "That sounds wonderful," I said. They moved in 3 weeks later. At first, everything seemed fine. Better than fine, actually. Vanessa cooked dinner most nights. Derek helped me with projects around the house. We replaced the deck railing together. We repainted the garage. On weekends, we would sit on the patio and watch the sunset over the lake. And I would tell them stories about Eleanor, about building this house, about the life we had lived here. Vanessa was attentive. She asked questions about my medications, about my doctor's appointments, about my finances. She said she wanted to make sure I was taking care of myself. She offered to help organize my paperwork. "You've got files everywhere, Harold," she said, using my first name the way she always did. Never Dad, never Father. Just Harold. "Let me put together a proper system for you. Bills, insurance, property documents. Everything in one place." I let her. Why wouldn't I? She was my daughter-in-law. She was trying to help. 3 months passed, then 6. Derek stopped helping with projects. He was always tired, always stressed about work. The mortgage business was slow, he said. Deals were falling through. He spent most evenings in the basement, on his laptop, barely speaking to me. Vanessa changed too. The dinners became less frequent. She started making comments about the house. The kitchen was outdated. The bathrooms needed renovating. The property taxes were too high. "Have you ever thought about selling?" she asked one evening, casually, as if she were asking about the weather. "A place like this, on the water, you could get $2 million easy. Maybe more. This is my home, I said. Of course. She smiled. I was just curious. But she kept bringing it up. Subtle comments. Articles about real estate she would leave on the kitchen counter. Stories about seniors who had downsized and were so much happier. She mentioned retirement communities in the area. Nice ones, she said, with activities and social events. You could make friends your own age, she said. I started to feel uncomfortable in my own house. They had been living with me for 8 months, and somehow I had become the guest. Then came the trip. It was October. Derek said he had a surprise for me. A fishing trip to Vancouver Island. Just the two of us. Father and son. You've been cooped up in this house since Mom died, he said. You need to get out. See something different. We'll drive to Nanaimo, charter a boat, spend a few days on the water. It'll be good for you. I was touched. My son, taking time away from his busy life to spend with his old father. Maybe I had been wrong about him. Maybe he was still the boy I had raised. We left on a Tuesday morning. The drive was long, but pleasant. We took the ferry from Horseshoe Bay to Departure Bay. Derek was in good spirits, talking about the fish we would catch, the restaurants we would try. When we arrived in Nanaimo, he suggested we stop for coffee before heading to the motel. Actually, he said, pulling into a strip mall parking lot, I need to run a quick errand. Work stuff. I'll just be a few minutes. I'll come with you. No. Stay in the car. Rest. It's boring paperwork stuff. He was gone for almost an hour. When he came back, he had a folder under his arm. Sorry about that, he said. Took longer than I expected. Hey, while I was in there, I ran into this guy I know. He's got some investment opportunities he wants to talk to you about. Investment opportunities? Retirement planning stuff. You've got all that money just sitting in savings accounts, earning nothing. He can help you make it work for you. I'm fine with my savings. Just hear him out. As a favor to me, I should have said no. I know that now. But he was my son. He said it was a favor. So I agreed. Derek drove me to an office building downtown. The sign on the door said Pacific Coast Financial Services. Inside, a man named Richard Chen greeted us. He wore an expensive suit and spoke in that confident, practiced way that salespeople do. Mr. McPherson, he said, shaking my hand, Derek has told me so much about you. Please, have a seat. For the next hour, he talked about interest rates and portfolio diversification and market volatility. Most of it went over my head. I told him I was not interested in anything complicated. I just wanted my money safe. Of course, he said. Safety is our priority. We have conservative options that offer better returns than any bank savings account, with minimal risk. All I need is your signature on a few forms to open an account. He slid papers across the desk. Derek was sitting beside me, nodding. It's standard stuff, Dad. I've reviewed it. I signed 4 or 5 pages. I did not read them carefully. The print was small, and I did not have my reading glasses. Derek said he had checked everything. I trusted him. We left the office and drove to the motel. That night, we had dinner at a local pub. Derek seemed happy, lighter somehow. He talked about his plans for the future, about how things were going to turn around for him financially. I assumed he meant his business. The fishing trip was fine. We caught some salmon. We ate well. Derek was attentive and pleasant. On the drive home 3 days later, I felt closer to him than I had in years. But when we arrived back in Kelowna, something was different. Vanessa was waiting in the driveway. She did not look happy. We need to talk, she said to Derek, barely acknowledging me. They disappeared into the basement. I could hear their voices, but not their words. The conversation was heated. Derek came up an hour later, looking pale. Everything okay? I asked. Fine. Just work stuff. Over the next few weeks, the atmosphere in the house grew tense. Derek and Vanessa were fighting constantly, doors slamming, raised voices at night. Derek stopped coming to meals. He looked exhausted, stressed, like a man carrying a weight too heavy to bear. Then, in early November, I received a letter. It was from the Land Title Office in Kamloops. A notice of transfer of title. According to this document, Ownership of my property had been transferred to Derek Macpherson and Vanessa Macpherson on October 15th, the date we were in Nanaimo. I read the letter 3 times. My hands were shaking. "Derek!" I called out. No answer. I found him in the basement, staring at his laptop. "What is this?" I held up the letter. He looked at it. His face went white. "Dad, I can explain." "Explain what?" "This says you own my house. My house." "It's complicated." "Then uncomplicate it." He stood up, running his hands through his hair. "We're in trouble, Dad, Vanessa and I. We're in debt. A lot of debt. We owe money to people you don't want to owe money to. I thought if the house was in our names, we could use it as collateral. Get a loan, pay off what we owe." "You forged my signature?" No, those papers you signed in Nanaimo. Some of them were transfer documents. I didn't think you'd notice. I was going to transfer it back once we got everything sorted out. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. You tricked me. I was trying to save us. If I don't pay these people back, they'll... He stopped. "You don't understand the situation I'm in. Get out. Dad, get out of my house. It's not your house anymore." Those words, I will never forget the way he said them. Not cruel, exactly. Matter of fact. Like he was stating an obvious truth. I stood there, frozen. My own son, looking at me like I was an obstacle. "You need to leave, Dad," he said quietly. "Just for a while. Until I figure this out." "Leave? This is my home. This is where I raised you. Where your mother. Mom is gone. This is just a building. And right now, it's the only thing keeping Vanessa and me alive." Vanessa appeared at the top of the stairs. "Is it done?" Derek nodded. "Then he needs to go. Tonight." I was in shock. Complete shock. I could barely process what was happening. My son was throwing me out of my own home. The home I had built with my own hands. The home where my wife had died. "I'll call the police," I said. "And tell them what?" Vanessa descended the stairs, her voice cold. "Your name isn't on the title anymore. Legally, this is our property. If anyone is trespassing, it's you." I didn't sign that transfer willingly. I didn't know what I was signing. "Can you prove that?" She crossed her arms. "Richard Chen will testify that you were fully informed. Derek was there as a witness. Your signature is on the documents. A court will see an elderly man who changed his mind after the fact. I'll fight this. Fight all you want. In the meantime, you need somewhere else to stay." They gave me 1 hour to pack a bag, 1 hour to gather whatever I could carry. I was too stunned to argue, too broken to resist. I walked out of my own home with a suitcase and nowhere to go. I drove to a motel on Highway 97. Sat on the edge of a bed that smelled like cigarettes and mildew. Stared at the wall until the sun came up. How had this happened? How had my own son done this to me? The next morning, I called my lawyer. His name was Donald Fraser. He had handled the purchase of my house 35 years ago. I told him what had happened. "Harold, this is serious," he said. "If what you're saying is true, this could be fraud. But proving it won't be easy. Your signature is on those documents. Derek will claim you signed willingly. There must be something I can do. Let me look into it. Don't do anything rash. And Harold, find somewhere stable to stay. This could take months." Months. The word hit me like a punch. I could not afford a motel indefinitely. My pension was modest. My savings, which I had thought were safe, were tied up in accounts that Vanessa had helped me organize. Accounts I suddenly realized I could not access. I called the bank. They told me there were new signing authorities on my accounts. Changes made in September. I needed Derek's approval to withdraw more than $500. They had taken everything. My house, my money, my life. I was alone. Truly alone. For 3 weeks, I lived in that motel. I ate cheap food from the grocery store. I watched television without seeing it. I felt like a ghost, drifting through days that had no meaning. Then I received another letter, this one from a law firm in Kelowna. It informed me that Derek and Vanessa were filing a petition with the court to have me declared mentally incapable of managing my own affairs. They claimed I had shown signs of dementia and confusion. They claimed I was a danger to myself. If the court agreed, They would become my legal guardians. They would control everything. Not just the house. Not just the money. Me. I sat in that motel room and cried. For the first time since Eleanor died, I truly broke down. Then I got angry. I called Donald Fraser again. "They're trying to have me declared incompetent," I said. "I know. I received a copy of the petition. Can they do this?" "They can try. But Harold, this might actually be good for us." "Good? How is this good?" "Because if they're claiming you weren't competent when you signed those transfer documents, they're undermining their own case. Either you were mentally sound and signed willingly, or you weren't sound and the signature is invalid. They can't have it both ways." For the first time in weeks, I felt something like hope. What do I need to do? Get a cognitive assessment from your doctor. Independent verification that you're mentally competent. If we can prove you're of sound mind now, it raises questions about their fraud claims. And Harold, start documenting everything. Every conversation, every detail you can remember. We're going to need it. I spent the next month building my case. I retrieved bank statements showing the unauthorized changes to my accounts. I got copies of the documents I had signed in Nanaimo and had them analyzed by a handwriting expert who confirmed that while the signatures were mine, several pages had clearly been substituted after signing. The type font was slightly different on the transfer documents. My doctor, whom I had known for 15 years, performed a comprehensive cognitive assessment. I scored perfectly. He wrote a letter stating unequivocally that I showed no signs of dementia or mental impairment. I tracked down Richard Chen, the man from Pacific Coast Financial Services. The company had no actual office. The address was a mail drop. Chen himself had disappeared, but I found a paper trail suggesting he had been involved in similar schemes before. Derek had hired a con man to help steal my house. The most damaging evidence came from an unexpected source. Derek's mortgage brokerage had been under investigation by the Provincial Securities Commission. He was suspected of mortgage fraud, having falsified documents to secure loans for clients who did not qualify. The investigation had been going on for months. Derek was desperate for money. Not to pay off mysterious debts to dangerous people, but to hire lawyers and cover his tracks. He had not stolen my house because he was in danger. He had stolen it because he was a thief. And I was an easy target. I presented everything to Donald Fraser. "This is more than enough," he said. "We can file a civil suit to void the transfer. And Harold, I think you should talk to the RCMP. What Derek did is criminal." I hesitated. He was still my son. Despite everything, part of me wanted to protect him. Let me think about it. While I was thinking, Derek made his next move. On a Wednesday afternoon, 2 police officers showed up at my motel room. They said they had received a report that I had been making threatening phone calls to Derek and Vanessa, that I had shown up at the house and tried to force my way in, that I owned a firearm and had made comments about using it. All lies, every word, but they took me to the station. They questioned me for 4 hours. They searched my motel room and my car. They found nothing, because there was nothing to find. I had not called Derek once since leaving the house. I had not gone near the property. I did not own a gun. The officers eventually released me. One of them, a woman named Constable Sarah Mitchell, pulled me aside. "Mr. McPherson," she said quietly, "I've seen situations like this before. Adult children trying to take advantage of elderly parents. The false report your son filed, it's on record now. If he tries anything else, call me directly." She gave me her card. I realized then that I could not afford to be sentimental. My son was not trying to work things out. He was not going to give the house back. He was actively trying to destroy me to cover his own crimes. I authorized Donald Fraser to file the civil suit. I also filed a complaint with the RCMP. The court date was set for February. In the weeks leading up to the hearing, Derek tried to contact me several times. He left voicemails, apologetic at first, then angry, then threatening. "You're making a mistake, Dad. If you go through with this, I'll make sure everyone knows you're senile. I'll drag your name through the mud. I saved every message. Donald said they would be useful. The day of the hearing arrived. I wore my best suit, the one I had worn to Eleanor's funeral. I sat in the courtroom and watched my son enter with his lawyer. Vanessa was there too, looking polished and confident. They did not look at me. Not once. The hearing lasted 2 days. Their lawyer argued that I had signed the transfer documents willingly, that I had wanted to help my son, that I was now suffering from confusion and regret. He painted me as a doddering old man who could not remember what he had done. Donald presented the evidence. The substituted pages. The fake financial services company. Derek's fraud investigation. The cognitive assessment proving my competence. The false police report. The threatening voicemails. By the end of the second day, even their lawyer looked defeated. The judge ruled in my favor. The property transfer was declared void due to fraud. I was awarded full legal costs. The judge also referred the matter to the Crown prosecutor for potential criminal charges against Derek. I had won, but sitting in that courtroom, watching my son's face crumble as the verdict was read, I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just a hollow emptiness where my heart should have been. This was my son, the boy I had taught to ride a bicycle, the young man I had helped move into his first apartment, the groom whose hand I had shaken at his wedding, trusting him with his new life. He was a stranger now, worse than a stranger. He was someone who had looked at his own father and seen nothing but an opportunity. After the hearing, Derek tried to approach me. "Dad, please." I held up my hand. "Don't. There is nothing you can say. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I was desperate. You don't understand the pressure I was under. You tried to steal my home. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You filed a false police report. You would have left me homeless and penniless if I had not fought back. I was scared. I made mistakes. These were not mistakes, Derek. These were choices. Calculated, deliberate choices. You chose to betray me. You chose your debts over your father, and now you have to live with that." I turned and walked away. I did not look back. The house was mine again, but when I returned, it felt different. Vanessa had redecorated while I was gone. New furniture, new paint. Eleanor's things were packed in boxes in the garage. Her garden had been paved over for a parking pad. I stood in the backyard where her roses used to bloom and felt something break inside me. It took me weeks to make the house feel like mine again. I unpacked Eleanor's books. I hung her photos on the walls. I donated Vanessa's furniture to charity and bought pieces that felt right. I could not restore the garden. The concrete was too thick, the damage too complete, but I planted pots of flowers along the deck railing. Roses, Eleanor's favorite. Derek was charged with fraud and forgery. The trial was 6 months later. I did not attend. I did not want to see him. His lawyer negotiated a plea deal, 2 years less a day, served in a provincial facility. Vanessa filed for divorce before the sentencing. I received a letter from Derek after he was incarcerated. 3 pages of apologies and explanations and requests for forgiveness. He said he understood now what he had done wrong. He said he wanted to make things right. He asked if I would visit him. I did not reply. Some people might think that was cruel. My own son, in prison, reaching out to his father. Maybe they are right. Maybe I should have been the bigger person. Maybe forgiveness is the path to healing. But I keep thinking about those weeks in the motel. The humiliation of being questioned by police for crimes I did not commit. The terror of losing everything I had worked my entire life to build. The moment Derek looked at me and said, "It's not your house anymore." He did not make a mistake. He made a plan. A careful, calculated plan to steal from his own father. And when I discovered the truth, he did not apologize. He did not try to make it right. He tried to destroy me. Forgiveness requires remorse, real remorse. Not the regret of getting caught, not the sorrow of facing consequences. True remorse for the harm caused, with no expectation of absolution. I do not see that in Derek's letter. I see fear. I see self-pity. I see a man who wants his father to make him feel better about what he did. I cannot do that. So, the house is quiet now. I sit by the fireplace in my father's old leather chair and watch the lake through the window. I tend to the roses on the deck. I visit Eleanor's grave every Sunday and tell her about my week. Sometimes I think about the night I came back, The look on Derek's face when he opened the door and found me waiting, the keys falling from his hand, the shock and fear in his eyes. "I have something to show you," I said that night. I showed him the court documents, the ruling that restored my ownership, the evidence of his fraud laid bare in black and white. "You can't do this," he whispered. "It is already done. This is my home. Vanessa and I live here. Not anymore." I had given them 48 hours to remove their belongings. Constable Mitchell stood by while they packed. Vanessa screamed at me. Derek pleaded. I said nothing. What was there to say? When they were gone, I walked through the empty house. Their presence lingered like a stain, but it was mine again. I had won. But victory is a strange thing. I thought reclaiming the house would feel like justice, like vindication, like proof that the truth still matters. Instead, it feels like surviving an accident. I am alive. I am standing, but something is broken that will never heal. I do not hate my son. That might be easier. Hate is clean, simple. What I feel is more complicated. Grief, maybe. Grief for the relationship we once had, for the boy he used to be, for the man I thought he would become. He is not that man. Maybe he never was. Maybe I just could not see it. Eleanor would have known. She always saw people more clearly than I did. She would have noticed the signs earlier, the entitlement, the shortcuts, the way Derek always looked for the easy path rather than the right one. I miss her. Every single day. I miss her wisdom, her warmth, her quiet strength. If she were here, maybe none of this would have happened. Or maybe she would have seen it coming and protected me. But she is not here. And I had to protect myself. That is the thing about getting older. People assume you are weak. They assume your mind is fading, your will is soft, your fight is gone. They look at gray hair and wrinkled hands and see an easy mark. They underestimate us. They forget that we built these lives with our own hands. We survived recessions and losses and grief. We raised children and buried parents and kept going through it all. We are not weak, we are weathered. There is a difference. I am 67 years old. I live alone in a house on a lake, in one of the most beautiful places in the world. My wife is gone, my son is in prison, my grandchildren, if Derek ever has any, may never know me. But I am still here, still standing, still watching the sun set over the mountains, and that has to be enough. I have learned things from this experience, hard lessons, bought with pain. Never sign a document without reading every word. Never trust someone completely, even family. Keep copies of everything. Know your own finances. And if someone tries to take what is yours, fight back with everything you have. But the most important lesson is simpler than all of that. Justice is not sweet. It does not feel like victory. There is no celebration, no triumph, no joy in proving that you were wronged. There is only the quiet knowledge that you stood up when someone tried to push you down, that you did not break, even when everything was taken from you. Justice is just surviving, and sometimes that is enough.